Our daily Bible reading today comes from Ezra chapter 8 through chapter 10. And our daily devotional today here at Carrollton Christian Fellowship comes from the very beginning of Ezra chapter 8. And what we see here in Ezra chapter 8 is we see that the Lord is now calling out, and the Lord is laying on the heart of a second group to go and step out and to go complete and continue the work there in Jerusalem. And so this is led by Ezra, so the author of the book here of Ezra. So he is a part of the second group that went and is leading the second group. And what we see with this second group, those who caught the vision from the Lord for returning under Ezra, what we see with them is that there was no glamour or nothing to attract them to this work. So the work that had done, this work that the second group is to do, they were coming alongside a work that had not been completed, that did not go all the way to restore and to build back the city there. And so some may say that is a failed work. Some may say that that is a work that the Lord is not with. Some may say, whatever it is. But what's important here is that God has called a new group. So quite possibly that first group, they completed and they did as far as they could and as far as the Lord called them to do. And that there is now a new group and a new set that the Lord desired to come and to bring alongside of them, because there was more that God wanted and desired to do, and there was more people that God desired to experience what God wanted to do. So we need to be careful not to prejudge a work of the Lord and a work that God has done. There is no completion and no end to the work that the Lord is doing through his people, because guess what? The world is continuing. The world is constantly going. So until the end of time, until the end of the ages, God is never done with a work. The only way is that if we deny and we reject to go, then we're not going to experience the work. But it does not mean that God's work will not be done and completed, because God's work does not depend on and determine us and what we are going to do. So us experiencing it does depend on our obedience and level of obedience. So because of their level of obedience, because of Ezra's level of obedience, Ezra got to experience, and so did those who went in the second group, got to experience the continued work of what God desired to do. And so there was no glamour to catch this second group. There was no sparkling lights or fog machines or anything like that to get them to go. But they went anyways. Why? Because there was a calling upon their hearts. And so what was it that made Ezra qualified and called for doing this? Well, he was a priest and he was a scribe. And what we see here with Ezra being the one who was called and sent out and overseeing the vision that God had given, and God giving the vision to Ezra of what to do, is we see in what we see by him being a priest and a scribe, is we see that it's only by God's Spirit, God's work can only be completed by his Spirit. So by his Spirit and by his word, new life is brought. Never can new life be brought back into something but by God's Spirit and by God's work. That is what speaks new life into every new work. And that is what this second group were expected to carry with them into the land to complete the work that the Lord started, and also the work that the Lord placed upon their hearts and called them out to do. And so it's by God's word and by God's Spirit which the Lord works. So I hope this can be an encouragement to you today. I hope this can be an encouragement that just because something that the Lord may ask you and call you to step out into is not completed or is not glamorous, hey, guess what? That's a great thing. Why? Because God is not done with things. God desires for things to continue and things to continue pointing others to him at all times and to bring honor and glory to his name. And so if we only look for work that is completed, what's going to happen is we're going to miss out on the work that the Lord desires to do through us and for us to join him in his work. So let us not always look for completed work. There may be times to where things that the Lord may call us along beside of does have a little bit more of completeness look to it. But if we desire to see an abundance of the working and moving of the Lord, when the Lord calls us out into something that is not as glamorous or not completed or does not look as completed, guess what? It only means that the Lord desires to work and to do that work by His word and through, or by His Spirit and through His word, and by His word working through your life so that that can come to a further point. And He desires you to step out and to continue in His Spirit and continue in His word. So I hope this can be an encouragement again. I hope that this can possibly an encouragement and an exhortation to step out maybe in the things that God has called you to that may not look as glamorous, that may not look as pretty. And so we look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and take care and have a blessed one.